All right, let's talk about accessibility. I think that accessibility is a great thing, but it needs to be done correctly. So, for example, if you have a flight of stairs and next to it you put a wheelchair ramp, that is the good way of making accessibility. The people with wheelchairs now have an easier time going up, while the people who don't have wheelchairs can still climb the stairs. Now, imagine if a world would exist where we would do accessibility by just making wheelchair ramps everywhere. They would obviously be more difficult to climb. People with feet would be at a disadvantage. So, why would you do that? Why would you do that? But that is exactly what the game journalists are asking now from video games. Because you have certain accessibility features in video games that are great. For example, an accessibility which makes colors more vibrant so that people that are colorblind can be able to play. So for example, in a MOBA game, you get to see the colors more properly so you can understand the different spells and effects. That is great. Subtitles. Really great. There are people who can't hear and they want to play video games, so they want to understand what the action is all about, so they have subtitles. You also have a speech option which reads the text out to you. I guess that is for people who are blind. I don't know how people who are blind can experience video games, but okay, fine. You know, like if that goes, by all means, do it. What I don't understand is when you are advocating that the entire game needs to be dumbed down so that the lowest common denominator needs to play. Assuming that the lowest common denominator can't just improve at the game. Assuming that he is different from the other humans who, by repetition, by doing the process over and over, if they want to do, they get better. Like, let me tell you something about my wife. Okay, my wife never played any video games before she got in touch with me. I actually helped her learn how to play at PlayStation. And at first, she started off with some easy games. We played a little bit in VR, Beat Saber, and what have you. But then she started playing more and more interesting games. So she started off with Tomb Raider. I put it on easy mode so that she can have an easier time. It was still very difficult for her. But she kept at it and she played the game over and over and over and she finished it, the first one. Now she's playing the second one and she is playing on normal. And she's getting a lot better. So I assume that if she's going to try to play the third game in the trilogy, she's going to play on hard. Why? Because this is how human beings function. Through repetition, you manage to master the game. You don't need to dumb down the entire game for her to play because people don't like to stagnate. You need to be in motion. Like Illaoi says from League of Legends. But anyway, right, so this journalist is whining that there is an open world in Halo Infinite and it's exhausting. Poor baby needs a nappy. He needs a nappy. Well, baby, you know what? If it's exhausting, how about you contact the MyPillow guy, Mr. Mike Lindell, you buy a pillow for him, and you go to sleep. If it's exhausting. Honestly, I don't understand the idea. It's exhausting to play video games. You don't have to play video games. If playing video games is exhausting for you, you can read a book, you can watch a movie, you can do something else. But honestly, the more I look at it, the main problem that this guy has, like his criticism might be legit, but he just doesn't speak human anymore. He speaks leftism. So instead of saying that the game feels a little bit grindy and he doesn't really like open world, he prefers the previous version of Halo when everything was streamlined and you have tight corridors and that makes it more interesting for a story perspective. Instead of saying that, he goes on a tirade about how the game has too much gameplay, like you have to play a lot, and this made him exhausted. So, okay, if you're exhausted from playing, I don't know, did you try taking a break? I mean, if you feel exhausted for doing something and you keep doing it, yeah, it's going to feel like a chore. This is a video game. You're supposed to enjoy yourself. What the fuck is wrong with people nowadays? So anyway, right, he goes on and he complains. I mean, this is so bizarre. When traversing the Halo, players should be on lookout for forward operations, FOBs, and this allows them to get various upgrades. However, his problem is that the formula wouldn't be too egregious, except Infinite applies an immense level of verticality that not only complicates movement, but forces players with limited mobility and strength to continuously climb on foot or to use equipment like the grappling hook. I don't even understand his criticism at this point. So because people have to walk in the game, they get tired in real life? What? Do these people read what they're writing? Is this normal? Is this what they... I don't even understand the criticism. Like, up till this point, I understand it. Okay, like, the criticism is that he has to grind too much, and he just wants to get into multiplayer and play, but he wants the upgrades. So he has to play the single player, but the single player is too much like Far Cry, and it's not like the old Halo. So, okay, that's what he's really saying in leftist speak. But then he loses me completely, saying that because there's verticality and because you can climb on things, the game has an accessibility problem. While he originally thought that the grappling hook would be treated as a fun gimmick, he found himself forever pressing its appropriate button to not only traverse the landscape, but to also propel himself to advantageous sniping or enemy position. How is this a bad thing? I mean, Doom, which is one of the best FPSs that came out in recent years, also does the same thing. In fact, in Doom, with the shotgun, you have that chain, that grappling chain, which allows you to cling on to enemies, and there's a lot of movement going on. Again, this, like, Doom has universal acclaim. It managed to outsell almost every other FPS, and you're complaining that this game is kind of like Doom, and it makes you feel tired. Alright, you know, this article has an accessibility problem. Why isn't this article written in Braille? Why don't you have an audio log for this article so people that can't see can listen to it? Why do you complain about other companies not having accessibility? When this article is... Look how much there is to read. Look how much I have to read. I'm getting exhausted. And unlike this gentleman, when I get exhausted, I don't continue doing what I don't like doing. It just stop. But I wanted to show people the absolute state of the gaming journalism nowadays. I hope you guys enjoy it. And I'll probably play some Halo myself. I've never played it. I don't know what the franchise is about. So this is going to be the first game from the series to me. Hopefully I'll enjoy it and not find it exhausting. But anyway, let me know what you guys think. And I'll find you in the comment section. Oh, and by the way, I played a little bit of the multiplayer and I actually had fun. Didn't get exhausted though. See ya.